Hi guys, Terry here. So I'm going to do a video and I hope I don't virtually cough all over you. I am suffering from asthma, so you will hear me kind of out of breath even though I'm sitting. I just did a breathing treatment, so I hope that'll help me get through this video. Because I'm suffering from my asthma and I'm having a lot of coughing and shortness of breath and things like that. Somebody was alerted and actually got me a COVID-19 test. I'm very thankful for that. I don't think I have it. I haven't had none of the other symptoms, but I'm very thankful that I was able to get a test. And I got it last Thursday and I still don't have the results back. So hopefully by Monday. Anyway, I hope your Friday night is going good. First off, before I get too much into this video, I do want to say that we're all feeling this. Oh my gosh, I know this is really hard on a lot of people, especially those of us like myself who are at home with no one here. My pugs don't put on a very good conversation. For those of us who don't have a husband, significant other, kids living with you, it can be pretty lonely, and I get that. Want you to know you're not alone. It's been very difficult on all of us, and I'm just here to say I'm here. If you want to call, talk to me, text me, whatever. It's a hard time. It really is. It's unprecedented times. And so when my friend Bridget, thank you Bridget, shout out to you girl, suggested I do a video of some of the haunted things and haunted stuff. Yeah, it's my jam. That's my mojo. That's what I do for a living. And I'm very thankful for Bridget. I think she could see in my post that I was bored as all get out, a little bit lonely, and needing something to do. And talking about, paranormal research and the cases and things like that, it's my jam. That's what I do. So putting me in my element, even though this is like the 55th take I've done on this video, I honestly don't know how people do videos on a regular basis. Coughing fits, dogs barking, things like that. I've had to retake this thing 100 times. This is it though. I'm done. This is gonna be my final one I put up, I guess. So, but I want to shout out and say thank you, Bridget. You helped me today. Doing this, like I said, put me back in my element, which is what I love. And so it made me feel so much better. Also, just getting, myself together, doing my hair and makeup. I didn't do it very well today, as you can tell, but just a little bit. It really helped. So, girl, shout out to you for recognizing that I needed this. So, thank you so very much. So, as we're all bored and everything, I think I'll try to entertain you with a little bit of my case studies first. Before I go into any major ghost stories, I kind of wanted to tell you this one case that I was called to do. This one in particular really pulled at my heartstrings. So I'm going back to case files probably 8 to 10 years ago. So this is quite a while. And I was called to Purcell, Oklahoma. And when I got the phone call, a young lady and her husband leased a one-bedroom apartment. And they had all of this weird stuff going on. Really strange activity. They heard a little girl's voice. They heard loud bangs, doors slamming, or stuff like their kitchen cabinets were slamming. They were woke up in the middle of the night by something flying off their dresser. I mean, just odd, bizarre things were going on in this apartment. And when they called me to do this investigation, she said, well, you're aware there's a murder here, right? And I was like, no. And she told me some information about a murder that happened in Purcell, Oklahoma back in 2006. A gentleman by the name of Kevin Underwood, murdered a 10-year-old girl named Jamie Bolin. It was gruesome, disgusting, horrible, horrific. And they lived in Kevin Underwood's apartment where he did the murder. So knowing this information, they were pretty sure that little girl was stuck there and had asked us to come see if we could find anything out. Hopefully help prove they weren't crazy. And so as I did some research on this case, I came across the deposition online where the guy confessed to the murder. And you can look at that deposition yourself. It is online. You can read it. It's utterly flippin' disturbing. In that, when they ask him why, for his motive of why he killed this poor little 10-year-old innocent girl, Underwood told the FBI and cops this very thing. This is his very words. I had a fantasy to kidnap a person, rape them, torture them, and kill them, cut off their head, drain their body of all their blood, rape the corpse, eat the corpse, and then dispose of the organs and bones. Jeffrey Dahmer, too. Disgusting. I about threw up when I read that in the deposition. I was one of those things I just cannot wrap my head around. So apparently he had been watching this little girl for quite a while. She rode her bike around the parking lot there at the apartment complex where they both lived. And he watched her, and he had this fantasy of murdering her for quite a while. One day, he decided to act on it. He lured the little girl into his apartment, excuse me. I think I read that she was locked out, and so she was just, for just a few minutes, literally. And knowing this, he lured her in by putting SpongeBob SquarePants on the TV, knowing it was her favorite cartoon. The little girl goes into the apartment, sits down in front of the TV because he's telling her, you can wait here until your dad gets off work. Thinking she's in a safe place, she's near a neighbor. She goes in and sits in front of the TV and watches the SpongeBob SquarePants while he entices her with treats and goodies and food and junk food and things like that. So I remember reading in the deposition that he paced back and forth nervously a lot. He thought about it, and he looked at her and watched her as she sat and watched SpongeBob SquarePants. And apparently, she tried to leave a couple of times, and he convinced her to stay by giving her, popsicles or whatever it was. I don't remember. And that he was so nervous, and it was taking too long, and he was worried she was going to leave, and he wasn't going to get his opportunity to fulfill his fantasy. He finally got the nerve, if that's what you want to call it, bludgeoned her to death with a cutting board. He then took the little girl's body and put it into the bathtub in his apartment, where he attempted to dismember her. His knife wasn't sharp enough to get through the spine of a human being. Frustrated, he packed her into a plastic container, wrapped it up in duct tape, put it in the closet, and left to go find a knife that would cut through a spinal cord of a human being. As he was heading towards the hardware store, he was stopped because there was an Amber Alert out for this little girl. And every single intersection to and from the city and in between was lined with policemen that were looking for the murderer. Or were looking for the girl, looking for the girl. When they stopped his car, he confessed. He was like, yeah, go back to my apartment. She's there. I chopped her up. His exact words. He stashed her in a large plastic container, and that's where the cops did find her, partially decapitated. They also found meat tenderizer and barbecue skewers in the apartment. They do believe that he was planning to cook and eat her. Very, very disturbing murder case in Oklahoma. Back in 2006, by the way, is when this happened. I can't imagine the parents having to read that deposition and the things that man said. He's a monster. He was charged with the murder. He got the death penalty. I am not sure if he's been put to death. I probably should have looked that up before I did this video. His name was Kevin Underwood. I think I said that. So you can look it up. It was a disturbing case. This one pulled at my heartstrings, y'all. I cried and cried after that investigation, and the reason being, so what it was, because the couple was in a 1-bedroom apartment. I didn't have my whole entire paranormal research team go do the investigation. I just called a girlfriend of mine who lived in the area and said, hey, I want to do this investigation. You want to go with me? She lived close by, so we could stay there till 3 or 4 in the morning, and I didn't have to drive all the way back to Tulsa, and she let me stay with her. And so I called her up. We went down there, did the investigation, came back, and going through our audio, we didn't really have a whole lot happen when we were there. I know she and I kind of hid out in the bedroom for a while, because we do know, even though she was bludgeoned and pretty much murdered in the living room as she watched SpongeBob, he took her back to the bathroom and, tried to decapitate her in the bathtub and tried to dismember her. And so we kind of thought we would hang out back there in the bedroom by the bathroom. And we did hear some pretty weird, odd noises, a lot of bangs, and some just weird stuff that, we could probably chalk up to normal, settling of a building or what have you. However, we got an EVP. For those who don't know what EVP is, that's electronic voice phenomenon. Now, those are when you capture disembodied voices on your audio equipment that were not there. You didn't hear live when you were there. And nobody really knows what they are. We know they're not radio waves. They generally tend to be, we believe, voices of ghosts or the dead. So I think that was one of the things that really pulled on my heartstrings with this case, is because we got an EVP of the little girl. And I'm going to play it for you here in just a moment. It gets louder and louder, and you can actually hear us kind of babbling in the background, but you will hear the little girl very distinct over our voices. And she says, hey, you, what you doing? We kind of wondered if she was talking to him, if that was some residual energy left over from when he was pacing back and forth when she was sitting there in front of SpongeBob. I read in the deposition that he was so nervous about doing it. And maybe she noticed him pacing back and forth and nervous. Was like, hey, you, what you doing? Or maybe she was talking to us. We were there. What are we doing, right? Whatever the case is, we got the EVP, and that's what made me cry. And I hope I don't do it again listening to it now. I just listened to it a minute ago and I was okay. So, but it was very heart-wrenching, and I mean heart-wrenching. So I'm going to play it for you. I'm going to point when the EVP happens, so hopefully I get it right, and so you can hear. That's us. Did you hear that? So you can kind of hear us in the background. It does get louder. We've kind of cleaned it up a little bit, took some of the background noise out, and made it louder as the little girl's voice goes on. So anyway, I'll play it for you again here real quick. One more time. You can definitely tell that's a little girl's voice, right? Yeah, pretty disturbing. So that was a case that I did about 10 years ago, 10 years ago, somewhere around there in Purcell, Oklahoma. I don't want to think that little girl is still hanging out there. I'm hoping that's residual energy of her and not stuck energy. I'd like to think children are so innocent that they automatically go to wherever the divine is. So that is my belief system. So I'm thinking maybe she was actually talking to us going, hey, what are you doing? Wondering why we had all this weird equipment out and recorders and what have you. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this video. I'm glad I did a breathing treatment before. I don't think I sound as winded, hopefully. This is my 355th take of this video. I didn't have a coughing fit, dogs didn't bark, so I did pretty good this time around. So I hope you enjoy it. If you'd like some more, I'll be happy to do a few more if you want, maybe in a day or two or tomorrow or whatever. We're all bored sitting around. So if you want some more and you liked it, give me some feedback. I appreciate it a lot. I hope you guys are doing okay. Bye. Peace.